He was more than a tech visionary. Steve Jobs was a storyteller, a dreamer, a disruptor, and a relentless believer in the power of imagination. In Make Something Wonderful, we hear his voice, raw, unfiltered, and unforgettable. This episode unpacks the wisdom, passion, and purpose that fueled his journey, and just might ignite something bold, meaningful, and truly transformative in your own. Today, we're looking at a really fascinating collection of material decades of Steve Jobs' own words, from speeches, interviews, even emails.
Yeah, it's quite a stack. And what we want to do is use it to get a window into, well, an exquisite thinker, really.
Not just the products, but the philosophy behind them.
Exactly. We're aiming to unpack those core themes you see again and again. Marrying the arts and technology, that relentless rigor, how he built teams, design.
And some surprisingly deep thoughts on being human, on mortality.
Absolutely. So the mission is to understand what drove him using his own reflections.
Okay, so where do we start? What's the root of it all for him?
Well, there's a great reflection from 2007 where he basically sums up his life's work. He didn't see it as just commerce.
Right, not just selling gadgets.
No, it was more profound. He saw it as an act of appreciation. He said, one of the best ways humans show appreciation to the rest of humanity is simply to make something wonderful and put it out there.
Make something wonderful and put it out there.
Now,
that elevates it, doesn't it? It's not just a transaction.
It's personal, almost like a gift. He talked about how even if you never meet the user, when you make something with real care and love, something gets transmitted.
That transmission of care, that explains the legendary focus on detail, maybe?
I think so. That deep appreciation means you can't cut corners. It demands excellence, even on the inside, the parts no one sees. You know, the circuit board layout, the code.
Because you respect the person who's going to use it.
Precisely. Quality has to be inherent, not just skin deep. It's about respecting their experience, their intelligence.
But there was also this urgency behind it all, wasn't there? The sources mentioned his awareness of fleeting time.
Oh, constantly. He saw life as like appearing, blazing in the sky, then you disappear. A short arc.
That's quite dramatic.
It is, but it fueled him. It meant he couldn't just make incremental improvements. He felt genuinely compelled to use that short time to elevate or expedite human progress.
So everything had to count. No time for mediocre work.
Exactly. Time was finite. That was the engine.
And the mechanism, how did he actually do it? His wife, Laureen Powell Jobs, had an insight into his perception, right?
Yes, a crucial one. She noted that most of us struggle just to see reality clearly. What is.
Which is hard enough.
Right. But Jobs, his intuition, let him see what wasn't there. He could see the gaps, what reality lacked: tools, simplicity, connection, and then he'd try to fill that gap.
So his mind wasn't, as she put it, a captive of reality.
Never. He didn't just accept things as they were. He had this almost, intimidating sense of possibility.
Seeing a simple phone where others saw complexity.
Or seeing the Mac when computers were beige boxes with command lines. He imagined new realities and then critically disregarded the constraints that stopped others. That's how you create the next reality.
Okay, let's unpack where that confidence, that perspective originated. Back to his childhood in Silicon Valley, his father, Paul Jobs, seems key.
Absolutely foundational. Paul was a machinist, never finished high school, but still called him a genius with his hands.
And he shared that with Steve.
Yeah, when Steve was maybe 5 or 6, Paul gave him a little section of his workbench. Taught him tools, how to build things, take them apart.
Then put them back together properly?
Critically, yes. And Paul had this principle. Even the parts nobody sees, like the back of a fence or the inside of a cabinet, they had to be well made.
Not just for looks, but for integrity.
Exactly. It wasn't decoration. It was about doing the job right, all the way through. That idea, that insistence on quality, even in hidden details, you see it echo through Apple decades later.
So that hands-on craft was the grounding. But then came the Heath kits. That seems like a real turning point.
Oh, pivotal. He built them with a neighbor, an HP engineer. These were complex kits, radios, oscilloscopes. You actually paid more for the kit than the finished product.
For the challenge of building it yourself.
Right. And as Jobs worked through these manuals, soldering, assembling, he had this huge realization.
It was.
That these incredibly complicated, sophisticated machines weren't magical things. They were simply the results of human creation.
Wow. So suddenly the complex world isn't scary or unknowable. It's just built by people.
Precisely. He said it gave him a tremendous degree of self-confidence. It demystified technology. If other people could figure this stuff out, design it, build it, then so could he.
It democratized creation in his mind.
Completely. That core belief that complexity is just organized human effort, that's what let him demand the impossible later on. He knew it could be done.
Yet, despite this early confidence, school was initially a struggle for him. He clashed with authority.
Big time. Bored, mischievous.
Yeah.
The stories are legendary. Trading bike lock combos, setting off little bombs in desks. He wasn't exactly on the academic track.
Easily could have gone the other way.
Could have. But then came Mrs. Hill, 4th grade. One of the saints of my life, he called her. She saw something in him.
And she used unconventional methods.
Highly strategic ones. A giant sucker and $5. She basically bribed me back into learning, as he put it.
That's amazing. And it worked.
Totally. Once that respect was there, she challenged him. Got him camera kits, he ground his own lens. He said he learned more that year than any other.
So it wasn't just the bribe, it was the engagement.
It was finding that connection. Learning isn't just curriculum, it's about respect, engagement, being pushed. That clearly stuck with him.
Which brings us to Reed College, a very different environment. He drops out quite quickly.
After 6 months, yeah. He felt it was absurd spending his parents' hard-earned savings when he had no idea what he wanted to do. Working class family, remember.
But he didn't just leave.
No, that's the crucial part. He dropped out but hung around campus for another year and a half, just dropping in on classes that genuinely interested him.
Free from the requirements.
Free to follow pure curiosity, which led him to, famously, that calligraphy class.
An expensive, beautiful, but seemingly useless class at the time?
Totally impractical, he admitted. But he was captivated by the art of its serif, sans serif, typography, graphic layout, beautiful spacing, pure liberal arts for its own sake.
Just learning because it was beautiful.
Yes. No thought of a job or application.
And then, 10 years later, connect the dots.
Bingo. That aesthetic sensibility, learned purely for love of the form, became the driving force behind the Macintosh's design. No one else in computing cared about fonts then.
But Jobs did, because of that class.
He insisted on proportionally spaced type, multiple beautiful fonts. It was revolutionary. It basically birthed desktop publishing.
So that useless class defined the look and feel of personal computing.
It's the ultimate testament to trusting your curiosity, right?
Yeah.
Even if you can't see the payoff immediately.
And Reed in the early 70s was a hotbed for that kind of thinking, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. Steeped in that idealistic wind of the 60s, Eastern mysticism, philosophy, counterculture figures passing through like Leary, Gary Snyder. Constant questioning.
Idealism was in the air.
Definitely. But there was also a pragmatic edge developing. They saw some older hippies, still idealistic, but maybe
Stuck, like working behind the counter at the natural food store at 45.
He mentioned that, yeah, there was this sense that they needed a more successful way to realize that idealism. Not just drop out, but find a way to fuse those values with real-world impact. And, frankly, make a living.
Which perhaps led to the trip to India after working at Atari.
Seems likely. A period of searching, intense cultural exposure. He came back feeling like a stranger in America. Spent months just reading, thinking, observing, synthesizing it all.
Getting ready for the next act.
Which was Apple, starting the garage with Wozniak. And the origin is so pure.
They just wanted a computer for themselves but couldn't afford one.
Exactly. Necessity and a hobby. They sold Woz's prized HP calculator, Jobs' VW microbus, just to get the money to print circuit boards.
Not exactly a grand business plan.
Not at all. They were just going to sell the bare boards to fellow hobbyists, maybe make their money back.
But then reality hit. The Byte Shop order.
50 fully assembled computers, a huge curveball. They weren't manufacturers.
Suddenly they're in business.
And facing what Jobs called the classic Marxian profit realization crisis. They built the 50, got paid their suppliers, and their entire profit was sitting there, unsold, on the shop floor.
Uh-oh. Liquidity problems.
Instantly. Yeah. They realized making it was easy. Selling it, distributing it, managing the cash flow. That was the hard part they had to learn overnight.
Talk about learning on the job. That must have forged them.
Absolutely. It prepared them for the leap to the Macintosh, which wasn't just another computer. It was a computer for the rest of us.
Bringing sophistication, but also creativity.
And this is where that calligraphy class comes fully into play. Jobs saw the Mac team's work as art. Indistinguishable from a poet or a painter, he said. Building it was a form of love.
Technology meeting the liberal arts.
Perfectly embodied. And he had that great analogy to explain its difference from the IBM PC.
The telephone versus the telegraph.
Brilliant, right?
Yeah.
The telegraph worked, but you needed Morse code /QZs, 40 hours of training. User hostile, that was the IBM PC.
Complicated cryptic commands.
Whereas the telephone, anyone could use it instantly. And you could do more than just transmit data. You could sing. You could express yourself.
And the Mac let you sing with fonts and drawing.
Exactly. It made powerful computing intuitive, graphical, accessible. Democratic, really.
And it wasn't just the software. He was obsessed with how the machines looked. He was pretty brutal about the rest of the industry.
Oh, scathing. At that 1983 Aspen Design Conference, he just said computers look like garbage. He saw designers focusing on cars and buildings.
While ignoring the object people would soon spend most time with.
His prediction, exactly. By 86, 87, more time with computers than cars. So design, industrial, and software had to be paramount.
Did he buy the argument that good design cost more?
Absolutely not. He insisted it didn't cost more money, just a little more time. And that critical willingness to persevere until it's really great.
Discipline and rigor again. Striving for simplicity.
Yeah, like those old telephones he admired. Making complex things feel simple. Inevitable.
That aesthetic focus fueled the marketing too, didn't it? Especially the 1984 ad.
That ad was pure cultural theater. It framed the Mac launch as this huge battle against conformity.
Against IBM's perceived dominance, echoing their history of missing big shifts like xerography.
Right. The ad's imagery, the athlete shattering the screen, it tapped into fears of centralized control. Big Brother.
Making the Mac the symbol of liberation.
The hammer ensuring 1984 won't be like 1984. Genius marketing, because it wasn't about specs, it was about freedom, individuality.
And when asked if Big Brother was IBM?
He was clever. Said if people saw IBM, maybe that was IBM's image problem, but the target was clear.
That was the absolute peak of Apple 1.0, wasn't it? But then, the fall, getting fired in 85.
A swift and brutal fall. At 30, from the company he co-founded, he clashed with Scully, the CEO he'd hired.
He described it as a betrayal.
A huge one, like being punched him in the stomach. He felt he'd let everyone down, dropped the baton passed by earlier entrepreneurs like Packard and Noyce. A really dark time for him.
Months of isolation, wrestling with it.
Yeah. But then comes this incredible shift in perspective.
Yeah.
Looking back, he saw it differently.
He called it the best thing that could have ever happened to me. How?
It lifted the burden, the heaviness of being successful, the pressure was gone, replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again, less sure about everything.
That lightness freed him up.
Massively. He said it unlocked one of his most creative periods, Next T, Pixar. It forced him to reset.
And he even changed how he measured success.
Totally. Not sales, not stock price. The new yardstick was legacy. Did we change things? Is every computer that's designed from here on out going to have to be at least as good as a Macintosh? That's enduring impact.
So the wilderness years begin. He starts Next T almost immediately. I want to build things, he says, not just commentate.
Right. He dove straight back into creation. But Next T wasn't easy, and you still see that intense, sometimes abrasive personality. That clash with Intel in 95 is telling.
Ah, yes, Andy Grove. What happened there?
Jobs needed Intel's help with 3D graphics for Next T. But his opening move was, well, classic aggressive Jobs. He demanded Intel pay for Pixar's 3D secrets.
Pay for secrets while asking for help. Bold.
And he criticized their tech, called Intel's graphics dismal. They're showing poor. Predictably, Intel's engineers balked.
You don't start a partnership like that.
No. Then Andy Grove stepped in with some wisdom. Reminded Jobs that friendly companies and friends do for each other, and these things balance out in the long run. A lesson in reciprocity.
How did Jobs take it?
Remarkably well, actually. He immediately did a 180, admitted ingratitude, retracted his demands, agreed to help Intel freely. It shows he could learn, adapt, especially when called out by someone he respected.
He respected the better argument, maybe.
I think so. Fierce conviction, but not totally inflexible. Meanwhile, he's pouring his own money into this other venture, Pixar.
Tens of millions, right? For 10 years, just trying to keep it afloat.
$60 million of his own cash. Initially, the strategy was just find a way to pay the bills, selling this expensive Pixar image computer, which mostly failed.
That's incredible perseverance, just burning cash based on belief.
Huge belief in the team and the core tech. It was a massive financial strain, a real gamble.
What changed the game for Pixar? When did they find their way?
To short films. Luxo Jr., Tin Toy. That's when Jobs saw the magic.
What magic specifically?
He realized people loved the story, the characters. They didn't need to understand the complex rendering technology behind it. The tech was just a tool to make something emotionally resonant, something loved.
Technology in service of narrative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That became the new focus. And he saw the potential longevity in that.
Right, he contrasted films with tech products.
Yeah, tech becomes part of the sedimentary layer fast.
A lifespan of a few years. But animated films, like Snow White, they last for generations, 60 years or more. He realized Pixar could build something truly enduring.
Something that would outlast the hardware, far outlast it. But animation also taught him about process discipline.
Because it's so expensive to make.
Immensely expensive to render. So unlike live action, you have to edit before you make it. You can't just improvise endlessly. It demands rigorous planning.
Which reinforced his belief about technology's limits?
Absolutely. No amount of technology can turn a bad story into a good story. Story first. Art first. Technology serves that.
So these years were tough, but also formative for his management style. He focused heavily on recruiting.
Spent maybe 20% of his time on it. Believed there were no shortcuts around quality.
Yeah.
He was hunting for A players.
People with intelligence, drive, passion.
Right, because the difference between an A player and a B or C player wasn't marginal. He thought it was 50x, 100x. He had to get the best people.
And his interview technique was memorable, criticizing past work.
Calling it a bomb sometimes, yeah. It sounds harsh, but it was a test.
A test for what?
Conviction. Would the candidate just agree with me and knuckle under? Or would they stand their ground, defend their work passionately, rationally? He wanted people who'd fight for their ideas based on merit, not just agree with the boss.
If you couldn't stand up to him, you couldn't stand up in the market.
That was the thinking. But ultimately, he knew motivation wasn't just about pushing people.
It was the work itself.
It's the work that motivates people. You could cajole, plead, threaten even, to get them to stretch. But fundamentally, the work had to matter. It had to be something that's worth doing.
Not just making, as he said, breakfast cereal.
Exactly. People need purpose, a sense that they're contributing something valuable, expressing that appreciation we talked about earlier.
During this wilderness time, he also made some incredibly accurate predictions about the future.
Almost uncanny foresight in '96. He saw the web instantly.
As the ultimate direct-to-customer distribution chain.
Cutting out the middlemen, letting a small company look as big as a giant, leveling the playing field.
And physical software. Buying boxes in stores.
Obsolete, he said. Downloading was coming in the next 24 months. That was way ahead of the curve in '96.
And the biggest one, maybe, the post-PC era.
Yeah, he predicted very low-cost consumer internet appliances. Maybe a $300 box for your TV with a web browser.
Okay, the form factor was a bit off.
Slightly. It turned out to be mobile, but the core idea was spot on. Dedicated, simple, affordable devices focused on consuming internet content would replace the complex PC for many tasks. That insight laid the groundwork for iPod, iPhone, iPad.
Which brings us right back to Apple. The return in 1997, he wasn't keen at first.
Very reluctant. Asked back as a consultant, then interim leader, he was agonizing over it. Deeply committed to Pixar by then.
What changed his mind?
A brutally honest friend. Jobs was explaining his dilemma, and the friend just cut him off. I don't give a shit about Apple. Why are you telling me all this?
Ouch. But effective.
It made Jobs realize, I do give a shit about Apple. He still was in intensive care, maybe 90 days from bankruptcy.
But we're saving. Why?
Because it was the only alternative to Windows. That sense of mission kicked in. He feared deserting Pixar, but felt Apple had something good here worth saving.
So he steps in, not tentatively, but decisively. Immediate, drastic cuts.
Ruthless focus. Slash 70% of the product line practically overnight.
Justified by that simple 4-quadrant grid.
Consumer Pro, Desktop Portable. 4 products. He admitted trying to do dozens meant guessing months ahead, and we're not smart enough to do that. Focus. Let them put the A-team on every single one. Emergency triage.
And he brought a new management philosophy, rejecting management by objective.
Called it a la croc. His approach was management by values.
What's the core difference there? Sounds a bit like corporate speak.
It's fundamental, actually. MBO says what to do, hit this target. Management by values focuses on the shared why. The goal.
His San Diego metaphor.
Perfect example. If everyone agrees the goal is San Diego, making the world's best computers, then arguments about how to get there, fly, drive, train are productive. They're about the best path to a shared destination.
Because the core value is aligned.
Exactly. But if the values diverge, if the goal shifts from best computers to just make money, as he felt had happened at Apple, then the arguments become destructive. There's no shared why to guide decisions.
So he had to reset the company's core values. And he changed the physical environment, too.
The beehive effect brought everyone together on one R&D campus to force interaction, speed up communication, encourage those unplanned interactions where ideas spark. The building itself became a tool for collaboration.
And that value of accessibility extended to the customer with the retail stores.
And the Genius Bar. Revolutionary. A place where anyone could walk in and ask an expert, a genius, anything about their Mac. It wasn't just support. It was embodying the value of making complex tech understandable, treating users with respect.
Back to Paul Jobs' lesson about integrity.
All connected. Then came the marketing shift. No more speeds and feeds.
No more MIPs and megahertz.
Because that's not why people choose Apple. He looked at Nike. They don't sell shoe materials. They honor great athletes.
Yeah.
Apple needed to honor its users.
Which led to Think Different.
Celebrating the crazy ones. The people with passion who changed the world. It wasn't selling a box. It was selling an identity, a belief system that resonated with their target audience.
This whole cultural reset really set the stage for the next wave of products, didn't it? The iPod, iPhone.
Completely. And the motivation for the iPhone, again, wasn't market research groups. It was personal frustration.
We all hated our phones.
They were awful. Complicated, unusable manuals, cryptic buttons for simple tasks like conference calls. It was a perfect problem for Apple's core strength, making complex technology easy to use and self-discoverable.
The big challenge was input, right? No mouse, no keyboard.
And styluses felt like a step backwards. The breakthrough was realizing the solution was already there. The best pointing device in the world, our fingers.
Multi-touch.
Patented multi-touch technology. That changed everything. Intuitive gestures became the interface. And crucially, they built it on a real operating system.
Running OS X, the Mac operating system. Why was that so important?
Huge leap. Competitors used stripped-down modal OCs. Running a desktop-class OS meant the iPhone had power, stability, security, proper networking, graphics. It could run real applications.
Fulfilling that Alan Kay idea he liked.
People who are really serious about software should make their own hardware. That tight integration of powerful software and custom hardware put the iPhone light years ahead. It created that seamless experience.
As we move towards the end of his life, especially after the cancer diagnosis, his reflections get very personal. But even before that, he valued connection, mentorship.
Deeply. He knew he stood on the shoulders of giants in Silicon Valley. He made a point of seeking out pioneers like Bob Noyce of Intel.
So called them up.
Had the chutzpah, as he put it, to ask them for lunch. Noyce gave him that link to the Valley's history, that sense of smell for how things really worked. He understood the importance of that lineage.
And that sense of history connects to how he viewed mortality, doesn't it, as a tool?
The most important tool, he said, remembering I'll be dead soon, clarified everything. Because all the external stuff, fear of failure, embarrassment, what other people think, it all just falls away in the face of death.
Right.
It leaves only what is truly important.
Strips away the noise.
Exactly. Which led to that daily practice he started at 17.
The mirror question.
If today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? A brutal self-check.
And if the answer was no, too often.
Time for a change. It forced alignment between his daily actions and his deeper values, making sure he wasn't wasting that fleeting time.
So how did he define a life well lived based on all this?
Two key things, really. First, loving your work. The only path to true satisfaction is doing what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do.
His advice: keep looking, don't settle.
Because if you don't love it, you won't have the perseverance required for the inevitable hard times. Innovation is a grind.
And the second thing, mistakes versus regrets.
Yes, mistakes, things you did wrong, things you wish you could undo. They're often valuable lessons you learn from doing.
About regrets.
Regrets are different. They're most often things you didn't do. The chance is not taken. He mentioned regretting not kissing a girl in high school. It's about choosing action over inaction.
Towards the end, his focus also shifted more outwardly, towards giving back, fueled by a sense of dependency.
Yeah, there's that amazing email he sent himself in 2010, reflecting on how little he actually invented himself. Language, math, clothes, most tech.
Realizing his complete reliance on others.
I love and admire my species, living and dead, and am totally dependent on them. A real moment of humility and connection.
And that spurred concrete action, like his work on organ donation.
Definitely. After his own liver transplant, he learned how inefficient the system was. He saw a specific problem, no easy way for people to register universally.
And he used his experience flying to Tennessee for better odds to push for change.
Successfully advocated for a California bill. He required the DMV to ask just one simple question about donation during registration. A small change with potentially huge impact.
Applying that design thinking, find the friction, simplify the process to a social problem.
Exactly. Identify the core bottleneck and address it directly.
Which brings us to his Stanford commencement speech in 2005, a synthesis of it all.
The core message was trust. Trust your journey. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards.
Trust that the calligraphy class will matter someday.
Trust your gut, your intuition, your heart. It gives you the courage to follow your own path, even when it seems illogical or impractical at the time.
And he signed off with that line from the Whole Earth catalog.
Stay hungry, stay foolish. A perfect encapsulation.
So recapping this deep dive, we see those three pillars clearly, don't we? Curiosity, connecting the dots, the power of love and loss and finding work you care about, and mortality, bringing sharp focus.
And it all ladders up to that philosophy of rigorous work as an act of appreciation. But what's maybe most striking is how he tried to build things. Apple, Pixar to last.
Beyond himself. Knowing technology fades.
Right, tech becomes sedimentary. But the culture, the values, the teams, the storytelling at Pixar, the campus designs, these were foundations meant to keep generating great work, keep expressing that appreciation long after he was gone.
And that idea of management by values, needing to argue anew about the best way to get to San Diego, implies the work is never truly finished, right?
Progress demands constant reevaluation, constructive friction. Which leads to a final thought for you, our listeners.
Okay.
Jobs made a huge difference by identifying and pushing for one simple question to improve organ donation, applying that same lens today. What crucial value or mission for human progress is being distorted or overlooked right now? And more importantly, what's the single simple question that, if asked persistently, could unlock a solution? Thinking like that. Maybe that's what it really means to stay hungry, stay foolish, and try to make your own dent in the universe.